Hi, this is Chad. I wanted to go over this assignment called Self-Portrait, and it really is illustrating a self-portrait using a reference photo, and a couple of those are pretty key. It is really, I'd like you to use a reference photo, and I would like it to be taken for this assignment, so nothing old. Just use a new one. Yeah, do not use existing photos. Take a recent one, a new one for this assignment. Use light and shadow in your photo. In other words, when you take a picture, make sure there's a light side and a yeah, there's a shadow side. So, and you can use any medium for this: oil paint, clay, acrylic paint, pen and ink, embroidery, whatever you want. We do want to show color in it, so clay, leaving it as clay, you'd have to paint it. And then, let's see, please turn in the photo and the self-portrait, and then submit that into Portfolio, and then to Canvas. This will be assigned the 21st and due the 3rd. That's 2 weeks. And I have some videos here along with one that I will include down here of me doing a demo. But these are good ones. I highly suggest them. Let me show you the reference photo that I took of myself. Okay, so notice I have light, shadow, and there's some interesting shadow shapes going on in the face. So if I squint, I'm able to, get rid of all the details in the light and the shadow and just show this basic shape, a shadow shape and a basic light shape. I'm going to demo that now, so I hope that's helpful. Please watch the videos. You're going to find a lot of help there as well. And I'm going to see if I have any student work. I don't think I do. Oh gosh, that's lovely. No, I have, there's another portrait assignment later on where you paint a famous person. So, yeah, take what you can out of this, and I'm excited to see your results and maybe demo it again for you. We'll see. Okay, so here's my reference. Trying to get some lighting, some drastic kind of lighting. Here's my drawing. Yeah, well, I know it doesn't look great. Okay, so yeah, so a few things to note. Yeah, I am using watercolor paper in a block form so that you'll see there's a stack of paper under that little block. They're glued together on, I think, 2 sides. Just makes it less warpy, less buckly. I'm using a watercolor pencil if that matters. I don't really care. A lot of times I go between like a regular pencil and a watercolor pencil. Here I'm just outlining the shadows. So you can see that I've outlined the face, but I've also drawn some lines in there which outline the shadow shapes too. So this gives me a map of where to paint my dark colors. At least I have my shadows, which are going to be darker, and now I know where I paint those, okay? And then I also know where the light will go. So that's kind of the idea. You can see a little bit of my palette. I'll try to mention what colors here. I'm just wetting the colors with a spray bottle and then hopefully cleaning up a little bit because I have, yeah, there we go. I have some colors left over from last time I painted. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Okay, so that is a Besmida or Besmida orange and some Cad red. So I'm mixing a really bright mix, and I'm going into the shadows. Yeah, I'm hoping, yeah, it needs to cool off a little bit, but yeah, so here we are, just kind of following my penciled outline. So again, the paper is dry, so this is a wet on dry right now. Yeah, and I have a nice little map to follow. I do have the reference picture in front of me. Could be a printout. I'm using an iPad, doesn't matter, but having the reference picture is very helpful, or a mirror, or whatever you're doing for this self-portrait. Now, right now, all the edges on my painting are hard edges. I need to come in and soften those up because usually when when it rounds, when shadows go around a forehead or something, they're soft, on one side. The nose is a cast shadow, so I should have a pretty harsh shadow coming off of the nose and probably off the glasses, but where the eyebrows go, the eye sockets go up to the eyebrow, that's a soft shadow. And where the where the shadow hits the forehead, it's definitely a soft shadow as well. So already, if you squint at that, you get some idea that, oh, that's a face. And I let that sit just a little too long, so it's hard to kind of activate, right? It's going to be easier to activate the lower I get, yeah, because it's less dry. I had an overhead fan going, so that kind of dried things out. And if you're painting outside, that's the same type of thing where, yeah, anyway, it's just, you have to be pretty quick on the, if you want to soften edges. So here's some cast shadow on the glasses, which just kind of putting in there, and hopefully the shadow on that other eye. Now the eyeball is completely in shadow. I know it's easy to go, oh yeah, just the pupil is dark and the white of the eye is light. But if that white eyeball is in shadow, it's in shadow, right? It doesn't go bright. Okay, now I've learned my lesson and I'm softening things pretty quickly. So notice I'm using one brush for everything. I guess it's just one of my, I have a set of these and they're like my favorite brushes. So one thing that I like about it, it's super big, so you can carry a load of paint, but also it comes to a really needle sharp point, so I can do my fine details with it if I want to. So it's kind of nice that way, and makes it pretty convenient just to knock out a whole painting without going, oh, I gotta change a brush. So I want to keep that, as we're looking at it, the left side of the nose in highlight. Don't want to darken it down that much. That's probably why I hit it with the rag in there. Just to keep, and yes, that ear needs to go in shadow for sure. And then I'm looking going, oh, you know what, that neck, there's different darknesses in the shadow. It's nice just to get a good separation, a light and dark separation. But there are different darknesses in the shadow, and I'm trying to pick those out at this point. Helps define what your shapes look like, even in shadow. So squinting, you go, okay, I have a good idea of there's a head there, and it's in 3 dimensions and stuff like that. So that's something helpful going for it already. So looks like I'm getting some gray together, maybe to do the hair, I'm guessing. Yeah. So yeah, so I am yeah, I'm trying to make that hair, instead of painting individual hairs, you got to consider hair like a full-on shape. Okay, like if you're sculpting it, like how would you do that with clay? Well, it wouldn't be individual hairs, it would have to be a larger mass, right? So, and then I'm trying to soften that, and you can do that softening. I'm doing it a little different way, but I mean, there's different ways to soften this. And one is like wetting prior, and we can talk about that. And that is a very helpful way to do things. Trying to keep it pretty quick. Let's see. Yeah, so now I'm going and doing some of the lighter side of the, the warm light hitting the side of the face. Let's see. I'm kind of preserving a few white spots in the hair, on the nose, and a bit on the chin. I'm wearing a dark shirt in the reference photo, so I'm trying to reflect that a bit. And I thought, I'm using a Payne's gray, or a cool gray is what it is actually, not a Payne's, it's a cool gray. And so it kind of has a blue feel to it. And I think why that works is because it's complementary to the orange red tones is the cool, right? So orange and blue kind of uses that color scheme a bit. Purple and yellow a bit. Okay. And then as your shadow gets a little bit, kind of somewhat closer to the warm light, you can use like an orange to separate those and kind of make that transition. It's possible. It's available. Let's see, what else are we doing here? Yeah, so just a real quick mention, this over on the right, this is the palette one of the palettes I use. It's a metal enamel palette. I don't know how many slots there are, but they're pretty, I like that these are slanted wells for the watercolor. So I like those a little better than the boxed out the box ones, because then at least I had some where I was jamming a brush in there trying to scoop them out. Where this way it's almost like sliding across the paint surface to gather paint on the brush, which seems, it doesn't hurt the brush as much as, you know, pushing it into a, you know, little small paint box. Okay. We are getting close. So again, I'm just following reference. Couple things to note. I think one thing that's kind of successful on this piece is that the darks are unified together. They make one shape. So if you squint at it, those darks hold together, right? They're like one shape. And the lights stay together. So I think that's successful. I think another one, if I was to say, it would be that there's a white, a very light, you know, part, and then a very dark part of the painting in the end. I'll put the rim on the glasses, and that'll be my dark darks. And my light lights are obviously the rim of the nose and the top of the hair where the light hits it, and the little bit of the chin is reserved. So now, I mean, that head is going to be casting a shadow on, it's definitely doing on the neck is so dark, but also on the shirt, it's casting a shadow. So I need to paint that in, kind of represent that. And then there's a few folds in the shirt, which I need to kind of take into account. But I'm not going in a ton of detail because I want people to kind of look at the eyes and face. So I put the most amount of detail where I want people to look is kind of what it comes down to. And the highest contrast and the most interest. So I put a lot of like detail and interest in the eyes, nose, mouth area. So we're looking at the head, we keep coming back to it. But the shirt, I'm not going super detailed on because I don't really want, that's not my focal point. It's important to have a focal point. And then the last thing, so when I squint at it, the highlights of the hair, the very tops, which are very bright, just vanish. They vanish with the paper. So what I'm going to do now is paint in a background so it makes those lights of the hair kind of highlighted. And it kind of completes what is going on with the portrait to me. It makes the light feel like it's hitting the top of the head and then hitting the face, where before you couldn't, it just looked a little unfinished. So I thought that was important here. And again, I'm sticking to the same color as the shirt essentially. But I'm not going to go all the way down to the shirt because I'm going to take some artistic license there. Because if I took that dark background all the way down to the shirt would fade away or get, you know, kind of like I can't see it or whatever. So I'm just going to fade out that dark, just blend it out to nothing before it hits the shirt. So I'm just getting a brush full of water and making sure that blends down to nothing. That's essentially it. I mean, I am going to be yeah, that should go a little bit darker. So I have one wash on the hair, but the hair actually goes a little bit darker than we're seeing there. So I'm just going to put an additional and another wash on the hair just so it, and if it blends into the background at one point, no problem, that's fine. It's like a lost edge. I have a lot of found edges at the top of the hair, but a lost edge on that side makes sense to me. Yeah, and so now I'm just putting in, getting, so when I'm doing these glasses, it's a really fine line. And I have a pointy brush, but I want to make sure that I don't have much water in the brush so it doesn't gush out everywhere. And those dark part of the glasses, in my reference, it doesn't stay in a full circle, so I'm skipping a couple of spots in there so it doesn't feel so rigid. So I'm just kind of like not touching it, like where I just lifted the brush right above the left eye as we're looking at the image. Yeah, that's essentially it. So kind of a realistic portrait in watercolor, and hope that helps a bit. And I'm doing a really light wash down there because there is some very thin grays, so I just grabbed a smaller brush to kind of hit that here and there. And I don't want to complete the entire round glasses because it just kind of looks like pasted on. So to give it that sketchy look, I'm skipping some spots. What am I doing? Maybe the lip. I think the bottom lip just needs to be darkened down. Oh, oh, I have a shadow from that crossbar on the glasses going that I missed. So I felt like that had to be there. Yeah, so on the magenta, I think that's a quinacridone magenta. So I've only used like 3 or 4 colors. I used a cool gray in the background and on the shirt. I used the magenta or the dark purple is kind of a quinacridone magenta. Then cadmium scarlet above that. And then this Besmita orange. And I may be using the Hansa Yellow Deep, which is that warm yellow, and okay, yeah. So now I'm just getting in, going through with pulling out highlights with a colored pencil, just so it feels a little bit I don't know. So it looks like the reference, but also I want to do it intelligently. I don't want to just kind of throw it in. Yeah, so that's basically it. Hope everyone enjoyed that, and yeah, good luck on your self-portraits. I'm excited to see those.